Nabus here, and on this episode of the Holly Show podcast, we welcome back Keithan Jones, the creator of the Power Knights comic book and the owner of Kid Comix. We talk about San Diego Comic-Con 2018, the Afrofuturism Lounge, Black Comics Day, and the San Diego Comic Initiative. The San Diego Comic Initiative, what's that, you ask? Well, if you're going to be at SDCC this year, stop by booth 1943 and meet Bobby Rubio, a Pixar story artist and the creator of the comic books Alcatraz High and Foregone Conclusion. Our guest on this episode, Keithan Jones, myself, and my co-host, Alex Benedicto, and find out for yourself. Oh, just a little warning about this episode. We recorded it outside at Liberty Station in San Diego, California, which is smack dab in the flight path of departing planes from the San Diego airport. Our original spot at Liberty Station, where we've recorded podcasts on numerous occasions, wasn't available upon arrival, so just pretend we're doing a podcast on the set of Top Gun 2. I hope you enjoy this episode with Keithan Jones, and I hope you have a blast at San Diego Comic-Con. Please visit us at booth 1943. Hey, fellow nerds and geeks, Aaron Nabus here, and along with my co-host, Alex Benedicto,
hey,
we are the voice of independent creators. On this episode, we welcome back Mr. Keithan Jones, the creator of the Power Knights comic book and the owner of Kid Comix. He'll be part of the San Diego Comic Initiative, part of the fun that's going on at booth 1943 at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, alongside Pixar story artist, indie comic book creator, Bobby Rubio.
Hey.
What's up, Keithan?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Glad to be back.
Awesome. We're glad that you're here. Beside the San Diego Comic Initiative, we'll be talking about the Afrofuturism Lounge.
Yep.
We'll touch a little bit on Black Comics Day, and we'll also talk about the latest issue of the Power Knights.
That's right. Issue 4, which is slated to be out and about sometime next month. If all goes according to plan.
Yeah, and congratulations on the successful Kickstarter.
Thank you. A lot of work, a lot of grinding, but at this point, I'm used to it. Could use some more sleep, but yeah, it is what it is.
Speaking of the grinding part, this time around, was there anything different that you did in terms of your approach to your production schedule?
This time I had more things lined up as this plane flies over.
We're at Liberty Station, and if anybody in San Diego knows, we're in the flight path.
Yeah. Welcome to San Diego
Liberty Station.
We tend to have a lot of planes flying around here. Speaking of which, I think they're filming Top Gun 2 up a little bit up north.
That's right.
So I've noticed some of the fighter jets been flying around a lot lately.
Are you looking forward to the sequel?
Oh, yeah. Top Gun was like one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. It's a cornerstone of my childhood.
Yeah, I don't understand why Tom Cruise took so long to make the sequel. It's not like he's getting any younger, so. And people wanted to see they've been wanting to see the sequel, So yeah, I'm excited about it. But anyway, I digress.
which we tend to do sometimes when Keithan's on here. I was joking.
Yeah. Count on it. You were asking me about my approach that was different.
Yeah.
In the scheduling. This time I had a lot more irons in the fire. I was heading up for Black History Month. I was heading up to Black Comics Day back in February. And I have Afrofuturism coming up this month, along with San Diego Comic-Con, which is all happening in the same week. So with the stuff that people don't see is the preparation that goes into putting those shows together, and it takes months to not only get the logistics together, but just to promote it, because don't want to just come out of nowhere and just, hey, I have a show next week, or I have a Kickstarter going. So everything that I'm involved in, there's a leadway to before I even present it. And it's just a lot of hours and a lot of just being dedicated to it.
And why don't you catch up our audience with the latest of what's going on in Power Nights 4? And I think the team's starting to come together, right?
Power Nights 4 continues the saga. I'm trying to, I plan to have 4 total issues of this story arc. Not 4, I'm sorry, 5 total issues of this story arc. I'm currently on 4. It should be out next month, probably the middle of next month. It continues the story of Kendall and Damian Watson, the 2 brothers who are the protagonists, and how their lives have been flipped upside down by this alien conflict that's been brought to Earth. These aliens, it's not your, we're coming to Earth to take over. It's more of they thought they were dead. They didn't know, somehow they got a new lease on life, and they woke up here on Earth. And now, coming from a past of destruction and causing mayhem and a bunch of other horrible things that they did against their will, they find themselves still remembering all of that stuff and still having their powers, but now they have the option to do what they want with their powers. Mm-hmm. And so they decided to make a pact between each other not to interfere with mankind and live reclusive lifestyles, right? Just basically count their blessings. However, one of them, a character named Warseed, he is of the philosophy that if we have the power to change the world and make it the way we want, why not just do that? So he went about the business of doing that, and that forced the other aliens to come out of hiding to deal with him, but also expose themselves to mankind and the fallout of all of that, of that action. So, not to get into spoilers, issue 4 continues that storyline, and it's an important issue because this is where things come to a head. This is where hard decisions have to be made and people choose sides. Mm-hmm. So that's basically all I can tell you.
Is this where the sparks of romance between Princess Raxi and Kendall start happening?
I can't really say. It's kind of they meet, and that's all I'll tell you.
Yeah,
that's all I'll tell you. So, but it is out there. There is plans for the 2 of them to eventually develop a relationship. And in her case, she's royalty, mm-hmm. or she used to be royalty. So her struggle here on Earth is, as far as her personal life goes, she's used to being catered to by men or by anyone really. And so obviously no one knows who she is when she's living her private life here on Earth. So she can't reveal that information, and she has to get used to being a normal person, mm-hmm. not doing everything for herself. And she's kind of growing up here on Earth and going through that maturation. Whereas Kendall, the Kendall, the character who becomes Sunwave, he's a bit of a hothead, but most of that's from passion. He really wants to get his brother back from, I don't know if back is the right word. He wants things to be normal again. Mm-hmm. And his brother, if you've read the first 3 issues, you see that his brother has been transformed and sent on a path of kind of a self-destructive path.
It's basically a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, he's a ticking time bomb. And the blood that flows through his veins is basically a nuclear component, like a nuclear mixture. So he's not entirely stable, which is why he has to wear this helmet. And the helmet is basically the stabilizer of what's going on with the power within him. So without that helmet, he can easily just explode with the power of a nuclear, being nuclear. He would basically be a micro nuclear bomb if he explodes. So he needs that helmet to manage his levels. But he also can use it to build up energy to fire off, just to discharge some of this energy through these pods that are on his shoulder.
Right.
So if you see it's hard to explain without the visuals, but if you go to kid-comics.com, you'll see images of the book and some of the pages on that site, and you can get a clearer view of what I'm talking about. But yeah, he's a bionuclear reactor walking. He's a human nuclear power plant. And he uses, right now he's angered and unfocused because he didn't ask for any of this. So he's just dealing with how his life has been flipped upside down by his interaction with these aliens and almost dying and whatnot.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're both like sort of, his older brother is like the surrogate father because the father passed away.
Yes, the father died of cancer, and the father kept that a secret. So that's another reason that the older brother, the one with the nuclear powers, his name is Rebellion, by the way. It's part of the reason that he's angry because the father didn't necessarily tell them how bad off he was or how close he was to possibly dying. And then when he did die, the older brother was left with the responsibility of taking care of his younger brother and and managing the house and all this other stuff. And he's still a very young man, still dealing with his own personal issues. So that only made things worse. So he has anger toward his father for not telling him, but at the same time he misses his father because that's, he loves his father.
That was a loud one.
Yeah, another flight. And so the younger brother, being younger, he's not, when you're younger and you don't have as much history with your parent, it's a little bit easier for you to, I think, to deal with the loss of a parent. You haven't had as much time. Not to say that it doesn't hurt, but it's easier for a younger person to adapt, I think. So he just, the younger brother just wants things to be normal. He wants his brother to be, him and his brother to just have a normal life. But now that's kind of thrown to the wayside because the two of them have been affected by, like I said, they got caught up within this alien conflict, along with their personal problems with the father being gone and having to take care of themselves. So ultimately, the Power Knights is really a story about choices and having personal power and what to do with that power. I believe that a lot of people's daily lives and the stresses that they deal with, a lot of that can be alleviated if you gain confidence in yourself and learn to believe in your own personal abilities and cut out the negative energy that's present in your life. And sometimes that may be some of your friends, maybe I'm just saying that you have more power than you think to change your world or your life. Sure. If you take on that challenge, and that's speaking from personal experience.
I totally agree. I mean, even just thinking about the people that you surround yourself with, they say that you're the product of the 5 people that you spend most time with.
Oh yeah.
So.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. My own stepfather, who I call my dad because I basically grew up under his tutelage. He recently committed suicide maybe 2 years ago, on Valentine's Day, no less. And I draw from that too in my story, because he dealt with depression, and he was in the Navy for 20 years. And when he got out of the Navy, I think he was kind of lost as far as what to do with himself. He didn't really have purpose. Right. And as far as his past, he never really told us a lot. A lot of to this day, his past is fuzzy to me because he didn't give us a lot of information about how he grew up. So a lot of his behavior was, was just stuff I had to figure out as I got older. Like, why did he say this or why did he do this? To this day, I'm still piecing, as a grown man and understanding more about life, I'm starting to piece those things together, But I think from his point of view, as being a father or a dad, he's looking at it as like, well, I don't want to worry the kids about it. This is not their concern. They should just worry about their own lives and be kids and whatnot, And so that's what I mean when I put that in the story in the Power Knights. The father didn't tell the kids about his dilemmas or his problems until he was gone, Then they're left to figure out, piece all this stuff together, and reflect back. Oh, that's where he was going that day. He told me this, That's why he didn't do that when I thought, I didn't understand why he was doing what he was doing. So, you know, I met a lot of people like that, like the older generation. You probably know, like, and I'm not. Is it true that like you guys are Filipino? And I heard that there's a culture in the Philippines. There's a thing in the Filipino culture where a lot of secrets are kept by the adults. Is that true, or am I misinformed? Like there's this thing about. Am I talking crazy right now, or what?
No, that's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, like,
you know, some people just a lot of Filipinos are like private. They don't like a lot of attention, even though some do. But overall,
do they keep secrets from the children or from like?
I think a lot of people do just to. They're protecting, you know, so-called protecting.
I think a lot of it has to do with not bringing shame to your family if it's something that's really detrimental.
Yeah. But see, I think there was more pressure on the older generations back then. Like, like in the South, that was prevalent too. Like, I would always wonder, like, why is there so many secrets in this family? Like, why? What's the big deal? Why can't you tell me these things? You know? And I think, like what you said, Aaron, is that they see it from a protective point of view, or that's embarrassing. Like today we're a more evolved society, so we're more open. So a lot of the stuff that used to be taboo isn't taboo anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's frustrating to a kid when they're growing up.
Yeah, I mean a lot of Asian cultures they revolve around filial piety. You know, like honoring the family basically, and your parents and all that stuff that goes with it.
Right.
So
get a good job. Don't I heard that. I had a Filipino friend, a coworker actually. She told me that I asked her one day, "Why haven't you moved out of your parents' house? Was that by choice, or you just like living there?" And she's all like, "Well, traditionally, I should only move out if I'm moving into a family, like if I'm married or something like that." So I was like, "Wow, that still goes on." So yeah, I can understand. Yeah, from cultural standpoint, I can understand that. But then you have America, right? America's a melting pot of all these different cultures, but still the overall, we're all trying to live the American way, the American lifestyle. And when I was growing up, it was more like, when you're 18, you're out. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I just bought into that. I just thought everyone was going through that. But looking back at that, I'm like, nah, not necessarily. Maybe you should have some money and some type of way to take care of yourself before you move out.
That's part of Filipino culture, too, is that, you know, when you're 18, American way is, you know, move out.
Yeah.
Filipino way is, you know, you're their kid for life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they
and
don't
I
have
think
that,
that's better.
They don't have that age limit of, you know.
Yeah. You're still your parents' kid, but I think here is more about, you know, it's a capitalist society, make your own way and all this other stuff, and sometimes it's frowned upon if you're piggybacking off of somebody else, and I think that's like a mistake. Now that I'm older, I'm like, that's a bunch of crap. Like, you should set your child up to succeed. And be realistic about it, you know. Not a bunch of hopes and good words. Like, being realistic. Like, are they in a good school? Can you get them in a good school? And if you can't get them in a good school, are you personally taking it on yourself to inform them? Don't do this. Do this. Learn how set up a bank account. This is how you correctly use a credit card. Don't get caught up in debt. That kind of stuff. Yeah. You understand?
They should teach that stuff in high school too.
They should. They should. Yeah. But it's I don't know. It's just, I think people don't understand how important that is. And they've taken a lot of these programs out of school. They've taken the art programs out. They don't have cooking classes anymore. They don't have, I don't think they even have shop classes, even the metal shops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff we grew up with that's not there anymore. Music, the music classes, all of that stuff has been gutted, And I think I think the politicians believe that it's not going to be that big of a deal. We save some money here and there, whoop-de-doo. And I'm like, no, you're destroying the fabric of your society. You're killing the culture here, because these kids are growing up raised off the internet, raised off of YouTube. And you've been on YouTube. It's just like a cesspool of negativity. So
yeah, our friend Tracy Hot Nerd Girl, she was on a podcast, and we were talking about STEM, and she sort of refined it, and she said STEAM because you need to add the art part back into that equation.
Right.
It can't just be, the math and the science, and
No, it can't, because everything you see, even the chairs we're sitting on, was designed by some artist of some type.
Yeah, and myself, I'm a graphic designer. And for me, that's almost like art and science together.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things I think. Like, you take someone like Steve Jobs, and he's notorious that he was known to be difficult to work for. But Steve Jobs at least understood that it wasn't all tech. We can't just sell tech. We have to sell dreams. We have to sell art. We have to sell things that you want to look at or put on your wall, the aesthetics of it all. And I think that's what helped. That's what really propelled Apple to where it is today over someone like Microsoft, for instance.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, when he was in college, he took calligraphy and typography classes.
He sure did.
That definitely had an influence on Apple.
Plus drugs.
Oh, well. Going back to the Power Nights, you usually are a one-man army, but this time around you had some help with the writing, correct? Usually you're a one-man army. You take care of the art, the writing, the pencils, the coloring. But I think Chris Ward helped out.
Chris Ward helped me with the writing. He did some co-writing for me because he's a writer by trade. I'm an artist, writer, but I'm more on the art side than the writing side. Like, I'm good with I have the plots and the concepts, but I'm so torn between different chores. It's hard for me to really sit down and write and focus on writing only. So I brought him aboard to help me in the writing department, not only to speed up the process, but also just to bounce ideas off of and give it more flavor. Instead of just coming from one mind, you have two people who can add to the pot, and it just it spices it up.
Was it hard for you to sort of relinquish part of that process?
Yeah. Because of my personality, it wasn't like if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. so and I've grown into that person where I've realized that, hey, if you don't speak up, chances are they're going to do something you're not happy with, and it's going to be too late, and ultimately it'll be your fault because you didn't say anything. So I've learned to speak up for myself and do it in a way where I'm not offending anyone. I'm just, hey, this is the vision, and I believe if you do it up front and you don't surprise people with like a different attitude or whatever. But with Chris and I say, hey, Chris, here's my plot. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And he'll take that plot. He'll write up a rough script. I'll look at it, say, this is good. Let's change this. Or this character, I don't think this character would necessarily do that. Well, then we'll come back, we'll talk about it. I think I'll ask him, why did you write it this way? And he'll tell me, oh, I see. And sometimes it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's a give and take. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for the vision of the Power Nights and making sure that it gets from A to B with his help. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's basically our relationship as far as the writing chores go.
Now, was he the first choice for in terms of like trying to outsource help for the book?
Yeah, he was, and a lot of that's because I've been working with him for the last 3 years on his projects, where I've designed some characters.
Which is I'm sort of segue into the beauty of what you're putting together with Kid Comics. In terms of like your collaboration with other creatives. So,
yeah, I mean, first I was by myself that first year, and Chris was just knocking on the door for like an entire year because I resisted him because I wasn't ready to expand. I'm just like, well, I can't do anything for you. I can't pay anyone. I can barely pay myself. So I don't like having people do stuff for free. I just don't. I like to pay people for their work. So I didn't want to put it out there. Hey, I'm looking for artists, or come on, come all. It's like, no, I'm not there yet. But Chris was proactive in wanting to be a part of Kid because he liked what I was doing. He liked the energy of the company. So I was like, okay, if you want to get involved, this is where I want to take the company. And he agreed, and that was like 3 years ago. And so he brought on another partner, Michael William Turner. He created the Dragonfly. And then we also brought in Roosevelt Pitt, who created Purge. Mm-hmm. And as far as what I did for those two, for Michael, I designed the hero costume for Dragonfly. Mm-hmm. I didn't write it or anything. That's all Michael. But he wanted some design help with the costume, so I formulated that for him. And I also did the logo.
Oh, nice. I like the logo.
Yeah, thank you. I did the logo. And Mr. Pitt, he was actually an already established indie creator.
Late 90s, right?
Yeah. Well, no, early 90s when the whole Afrocentric wave was happening with Milestone Comics.
Oh, I see. Right before Image? Or
yeah. Well, Image was just getting going too. They were big too at the time. It was that era where Spike Lee had Do the Right Thing out. Okay. And there was this big, it was like a lot of what's going on today with Black Panther. The first wave was way back in the early 90s.
Gotcha.
And so, and from what he told me, I think he sold over 1 million copies of Purge. So him and his original crew were humming there for a minute. Mm-hmm. And then they had a bit of a falling out, and he kind of went dormant with Purge. And mind you, I didn't know anything about this back then. I was going to art. I wasn't even really in the comic book scene in the early 90s. I was going to art school and kind of stopped looking at comics for a minute there. So I didn't know all of this was happening. I didn't even know Image was going on until I went back to the comic book store and I saw all this. They had already been established. And I was like, who the heck are these guys? Why are they all over the place? So, yeah, I kind of did the history on that, find out what was happening. Because I was off trying to be an animator for Disney.
That's right.
So so Kid, eventually the idea is to have Kid become a powerhouse of its own, where I can see an indie artist and be like, hey, I like this guy's work. I'm going to put money into his project, not just a little Kickstarter stuff, right? Like I want to be actually able to
full-fledged,
be the machine behind
printing.
Yeah. Because I see a lot of stuff. If I had the power, I would like really take it to the next level. But I'm not in that position yet. But if I were a Marvel or DC, hint, and I see the stuff going on, I would do some investigation and be like, hey, just like a Hollywood studio, like they find a script that they're interested in producing. If I'm one of the big comic book studios, I want to be the same way. Like, hey, man, I like this Purge thing, or I like this Dragonfly thing, or I like this Vegas Baby thing. Let me put some money into it and get some distribution behind it, and off to the races you go. And you can say Image does that, but I think Image has more of a submission process where you got to submit it and all this other stuff. But I'm always out and about, and I'm seeing this stuff on Kickstarter and all this other stuff. Part of the community, so I already see it. You don't have to submit it to it. I see it. Mm-hmm. I think if you're promoting it and you're promoting it well, it's going to eventually come across to my desk, right? So then it's up to me, if I have the power, to fund these people, versus instead of telling, well, just submit your stuff. I'm like, I don't know, man. A lot of these guys who submit their stuff, that's as far as it goes. It's the stuff that you see already being heavily promoted by these guys. You can see the passion right there. Like, he's already got the passion. He's putting the work in. All I got to do is take him to the next level, Mm-hmm. So I'd rather work with someone like that who understands what the work that's involved in making this stuff, be successful.
Now, you'll be obviously promoting the Power Nights at San Diego Comic-Con, right? You'll be promoting the book at San Diego Comic-Con? You'll be promoting the book at San Diego Comic-Con as part of the San Diego Comic Initiative.
Yes, I'll be at booth 1943, as mentioned earlier, with my good buddy who I grew up with, Bobby Rubio from Pixar. And I'll have the completed issues of 1 through 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm thinking of I've been mulling having like maybe a preview booklet of issue 4.
Oh.
Like a black and white preview booklet.
Almost like an ash can?
Yeah, kind of something like that.
Yeah.
I know it's coming down to the wire now, but I might do that. But I'm definitely going to have new posters on hand. One of the posters will be the manga version of Power Knights 4 cover. So it's the Japanese version of the cover of Power Knights 4, and I'll have a poster size image of that on for sale.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Bobby,
and I'm sorry, I'll also be doing sketches. So if you want sketch done of not just my characters or just whoever your favorite character is, I'll be on hand to do that. I think I'll be charging $20 each to do personalized sketches.
Speaking of Bobby, he'll be bringing 2 of his books, Alcatraz High and Four-Gun Conclusion, and I think he has 2 other properties he's working on, Enforcement and Neighborhood Legend. So it'd be kind of cool to get some information about that.
For that. I know about the Enforcement is just like kind of like my Power Knights as far as where it came from. That was a high school creation of his.
Oh, speaking of high school, why don't you go into a little bit about your history with Bobby?
Oh, the famous meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was junior high, Bell Junior High, before I knew him. And some kid came up to me, I think it was Arvin Budamo. And Arvin was like, "Hey, Keithen, there's a guy here who can draw just like you. He's as good as you are. He does comics and he's into the same stuff." And my original thought was, yeah, right. Because I had never met anyone who was A, serious about comic art, B, who was actually on my level as far as talent, you know. Mm-hmm. So I just figured that's probably gonna be some kid who traced his favorite car or something. So they said, yeah, you gotta meet him at lunchtime at the library. So okay, all right. So lunchtime rolls around and I go to the school library and I came in. He was already there. He wasn't facing me, so I was walking up on his back, right from behind. So I just kind of glanced over his shoulder to see what he's drawing, and I remember my heart skipping a little bit. I found something. I remember my heart skipping a little bit because he was really good. Like, oh, they weren't lying. He's really good.
Do you remember what he was drawing?
Oh man, if I had to guess, it was probably something from Robotech.
Oh, okay.
Because we were heavily into Robotech at the time.
Right.
And so yeah, as soon as I saw it, I mean, artists can tell. Like you see some, you don't have to draw too much to tell how good someone is. And so yeah, I knew I had some competition, and I showed him my stuff, and I don't know what his state of mind was, but I think from what he said, he felt the same way. And so we just hit it off from there. We had a friendly competition. So from that day forth, I would go home and like all of my drawings were like just to impress Bobby. I gotta draw something to bring to school tomorrow. And so yeah, we draw something from the school. He showed me his drawing. I showed him my drawing, and I was like, damn, that's good. So I gotta go back, So yeah, we would. That's what we did all the way into high school, and we would. I stay at sleep over at his house sometimes, and we just pour over the Teen Titans comic when George Perez was drawing it. He was our favorite artist. We had Macross books from Robotech. We both kind of discovered that all the stuff was coming from Japan at the same time because we were going to Comic Cons together, and we just all the way up to Cal Arts, man. And I went to Cal Arts first. He stayed here in San Diego and I believe he was on a 2-year program here because he wasn't sure about what he wanted to do. And I was like, I think I was on the phone with him. I said, Bobby, man, I don't know why you're not up here, dude. This is where you need to be. You think so? And so I think Bobby told his parents that I was there, and they had their talk because, his parents, like we just had that discussion about, like, you want to be an artist? Are you sure? I don't know. So I told my dean about Bobby, my professor, like, hey, I think you should bring him on. He's really good. And so I tried to, grease the wheels a little bit for Bobby. So when he got there, found out that he got accepted. And sure enough, it did him well because he ended up his first gig. I'm not really sure because he and I didn't spend a lot of time together. But when we got to L.A., but I believe he worked for Image for a short time.
I think he interned there
at Image.
So.
Yeah, under Jim Lee and those guys. And then he transitioned to working for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's when he moved to Florida, right?
Did he move to Florida?
Right? Didn't he move to Florida?
I thought he just went to Anaheim.
I don't know. Florida sounds familiar though.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because they had the.
I think the
I know what you're talking about.
I think
they
used
to have this tour where people can look at the artists. They were encased in this glass studio.
Oh yeah.
And they allowed folks to tour around them while they were working.
Oh.
And I don't think they have it there anymore, but he might have been part of that program. Yeah. So, and then later on, I think he did Avatar.
Oh yeah.
Whatever studio handled Avatar.
Before that, he was at Disney too, in Burbank. Before Avatar,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, but I don't know what studio.
I think it was Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I think he went to Pixar.
Yeah.
And while all that was happening, I was muling around in L.A. doing odd jobs. Like I would 1 month I'd be working for a video game company. The next month I'd be doing, I'd be silk screening. The next month I'd be helping some independent filmmaker being a boom man or something like that, and also just doing even regular jobs from working at a warehouse or something, So I was just kind of out there finding myself, and going through everything that was going on in LA at the time. It was a crazy time. I mean, I was right there when we had the Northridge earthquake. I was right there when we had the LA riots from the Rodney King incident. The OJ thing. I remember watching OJ on the TV in the Bronco.
Damn white Bronco.
Yeah. It's like, this place is nuts. And then I met a lot of celebrities when they were first getting started. I met Snoop Dogg when he first came out with his first album.
Oh, yeah.
I met Dr. Dre. I came across Tupac. All the legends, man. They were all that time. We were all the same age. So we were all mingling, going to the same nightclubs and just mingling with the same folks, and just it was crazy. It was crazy, There were some bad nights too, where I had some incidents that I don't speak much about as far as like as it pertains to being a black man in America. I had run-ins with the law, and that was a bit of a shocker because I was really just a suburban kid, right? And when I got to LA, I had a good friend who basically was a street kid. Him and his brothers were taking care of themselves because they didn't have their parents, right? So he was like the big brother I never had, and he taught me how to survive with less. Like he taught me how to just survive. You know what I mean? He was just like he was not my blood brother, but he's my big brother. And and I just kind of followed him around and learned a lot because I was only 18, 19, 20 years old.
Street smarts,
and I was dealing with this stuff like like I said with the LAPD. I've had a couple of run-ins with them, and I wasn't used to that. I didn't grow up in the ghetto. I didn't grow up in the hood. I just I grew up in suburban area, but I was introduced to. I heard of these things, but I didn't experience it until I moved to LA. Because especially in the summertime when school was out, I was staying with my cousin who lived right in South Central when all that stuff was going on, So it was like a trial by fire for me, But it shaped who I am today. So now I'm not ignorant toward the stuff I see on the news. Like when I see these stories about police brutality, I see these stories about racism, I see these stories about people being ostracized for being different. I know it from personal experience, so I understand what they're saying, and I know that they're not lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a real thing, unfortunately. But being in San Diego, I grew up around primarily like Filipinos, Latinos, and I think that experience allows me to easily to enter anyone in other cultures easily. I can go to Japan and feel comfortable. I can go to New York and feel comfortable. I rarely have culture shock. You know what I mean? Because I'm so used to being a Navy brat. I'm used to being around different people all the time.
Yeah.
So
that's a good thing about living here in San Diego. You get that diversity.
Yeah, you can't escape it. You're forced to assimilate, So, and it's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's not like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing, Yeah, so it's always weird to me, like when I hear people who've never, like they're like 30, 40 years old, and like, what, you've never left this neighborhood ever? Nope, don't plan to. Like, wow, no wonder you don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, it's weird in that sense.
Yeah, alongside Bobby and Keithan, both Alex and I will be at booth 1943, working the morning shift, selling Bobby's comic books and posters. So we're looking forward to that experience.
For sure, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great, man.
Yes.
Yeah, and another thing that's going along at San Diego Comic-Con is the Afrofuturism Lounge. You want to go into that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. The lounge is the lounge is an opportunity for artists from all walks of life, really, but it's a focus on African American artists to have a platform to show their stuff, sell their stuff, and network. So it's also after party. So there's going to be drinks and music there too. So we didn't want it to just be like a Comic-Con. We wanted it to be a celebration, and people just, after they finish with San Diego Comic-Con, in the evening, you can come on down between 7 and 11 p.m., get your drink on, and look at art, talk to some professional artists, and just have a good old time. Get your network on. Yeah, and it's looking like we're going to have a very good turnout. So I'm hoping that everyone will be able to get through the door and experience what we have set up for them. And like I said, it's looking good so far. We're getting a lot of buzz. I just did KPBS earlier this week, and that'll air, I believe, Wednesday. And we actually did the interview from my personal studio and from the gallery itself, where the Afrofuturism Lounge will take place. So you get more of an insight to what's happening there.
Cool. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
To get like John Jennings and David Walker.
John Jennings, David Walker.
Jason Reeves. Ruben Warren's going to be there.
Warren. Urias.
Oh yeah, Urias.
From the creator of the very popular Black Heroes Matter t-shirt.
That's right.
That went viral a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be there. Is going to be there.
David Phillips.
I should just bring up the list so everybody gets their shine. Or do you have the list?
I guess we can pull it up on the Facebook. You want to pull it up, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have some drinks and
LaWanda Richardson, LaWanda Richmond, and John Jennings, and it's either going to be John Jennings or David Walker, but between the three of them, they're going to put on a special panel called Beyond Wakanda. And that panel is we're going to, we're not going to sit around talking about the woes of the industry and all this stuff. Like, I didn't want to do that. We wanted to offer solutions.
So no Comicsgate discussions?
Huh?
No Comicsgate discussions?
No. Later for that. No, this is about, I'm all about doing stuff. Like, I'm not about the whole like ranting and then not doing anything.
Yeah, I think there's too many people that complain about stuff and not do anything.
Yeah, I hate that, and I think it's time to turn the page on that. And that's what this debate or panel is going to be about. We're offering solutions. We're going to talk about how we did it and how we're going about it, and allowing people to ask questions about how they can go about it and give them solutions. Because that's what it's about right now. Yeah, so let me run down the guest list of folks who are going to be at the Afrofuturism Lounge. So we're going to have John Jennings. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Should I get a description of who they are?
Sure.
John Jennings is a professor at University of California, UC Riverside. He's also a designer, illustrator, writer. He's the artist for the adaptation of The Kindred. And forgive me, I forgot. Oh my gosh, he's famous writer.
Oh, the book? His book?
The book.
Yeah, Black Comix Returns. I think Black Comix Returns.
Yes,
his anthology.
He's in. He's behind that also, but I'm talking about the actual book that he did artwork for. It's called The Kindred, and it's adaptation of. I'm trying to remember the author's name, but she's a legendary artist. She's passed now, so forgive me, folks out there. Look, I got a horrible memory, but it'll hit me soon enough. And the writer for the book, who'll be there also, Damian Duffy. He's a writer. He'll be on hand also. Shauna Mills. Shauna Mills is a, I believe she's a storyboard artist. She works for Disney XD, but I don't know what shows she works with, what specific shows.
Maybe it's Rebels.
I think it's a gamut. It's a gamut of different shows on Disney XD.
Yeah,
she'll be on hand. Jason Reeves of 133 Art. Jason is a publisher. He's an actual publisher, and printer. So if you're an independent creator and you're looking for a good deal on prints, he's based in LA. He'll take orders at 133art.com. I suggest going through him to get a good deal on your comic book printing needs. Writer David Walker. David Walker writes for Marvel. He writes for DC. He's written for Lion Forge. He's worked on Luke Cage. I think he's currently working on Luke Cage. He's worked on Cyborg, the solo series for Cyborg, Shaft, so on and so forth. So he's done a lot of work. Angela Nixon, she's a writer. And her, what is her thing? I'm trying to remember these people's projects. I probably should just round off their names. My memory is so bad. But Angela Nixon, she'll be there. She's a writer. TJ Sterling. Let's see, TJ Sterling is a writer-artist, I believe. Ruben Warren is a writer. He'll be there. Eric Cooper is writer-artist. He'll be on hand. Oops, I lost it. Andre Owens is writer-artist. Tamara L. Dicus, I believe is pronounced. She's the founder and principal of California Is Me. I believe that's I want to say female empowerment program, but don't quote me on that. And I think she adapts other projects to books. David Phillips is on hand. He's a writer-artist. Kumar Allen's one of the he's actually the guy who's given us access to the gallery. He's like the administrator there, and he's also a artist himself / model. But he's also he works with in therapy. I think it's therapy, this right. He's a jack of all trades. There's LaWanna Richmond. She is a business development manager. She is also one of the organizers of the show. She's very instrumental in what's going on with the show and making sure everything's put together and make sure the budgeting's done right and things of that nature. And but when she's not doing that, she's what I call a futurist. She does seminars on talking about technology and how to apply technology to solve today's issues and cultural conflicts and things of that nature, and how we can move forward in a technological world. And also how it pertains to Afrofuturism. So she says she's a self-proclaimed super geek, but she's also a bit of a science fiction guru in the real world and in science fiction.
Got it.
So yeah, but And then there's Richard Uraeus Tyler, the creator of Black Heroes Matter. He'll be on hand selling his shirts. Who, like I said, those shirts went viral about 2 years ago. And I saw that firsthand because Uraeus stays with me every year because he lives in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But he stays with me for San Diego Comic-Con. And so the first year that he wore that shirt, you know, we're walking around downtown, and I swear every other person kept asking him, where did that shirt come from? I love that shirt. And I'm talking to all kinds of people, all races, all ages. Just, where did that shirt come from? I love it. So I think the next year he offered them for sale, and it went viral. To the point where the cast of the Black Panther was wearing, some of the members of the cast of the Black Panther film were wearing the shirt. So so it's going to continue that movement this year.
Yes. Cool. Looking forward to seeing
so yeah, there's going to be, I'm sure I'm missing some other folks, but like I said, my memory is horrible. But the people I mentioned and others will be on hand, and we're going to, you know, they're all professionals. They all have great advice, and they all do great work, and they all have projects out in the world. And if you really want to get more in-depth information on them, go to the event page for Afrofuturism Lounge. You get, you know, better information than what you're getting from me
on Facebook.
That's for sure. On Facebook, yeah.
And the venue is about a 5-minute walk away. It's going to be
That's
at the
another good thing. It's walking distance from the convention center.
Yeah, it's going to be at the Brokers Building Gallery.
So you don't have to you don't have to repark or anything like that. You just take a stroll down the street to the Brokers Gallery Lounge.
Just walk up Fifth Avenue, make a left on Market.
There you go.
Between 5th and 6th on Market.
Yeah, and it's a 2-day event. It'll take place Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that's another thing.
20th
it's Friday night
21st.
and Saturday night. So if you can't make Friday night, we're doing it the very next night, Saturday. So, you know, come both days or pick a day, whatever works for you.
And they'll be open from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Yep. It doesn't stop you from going to San Diego Comic-Con. You can spend the entire day at San Diego Comic-Con. You will have about an hour to get yourself together if you need to go eat or whatever, you know, go home or come back and then come to our show. You can do that. So, it's set up to succeed, guys.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Cool. I guess just touch on Black Comics Day. Are there any updates for that, Keithan?
Yep. Black Comics. It's going to be called Black Comics Day 2, or actually Black Comics Day Heroes Rise 2. So, and that is going to take place next Black History Month at Malcolm X Library again. I believe we're doing the 16th, February 16th, instead of the 17th, and that is a Saturday, 1-day event. And announcements as far as for vendors to get a table, exhibitors to get a table will probably happen. I'm probably going to make the announcement in August, either at the end of August or the beginning of September, so people can start acquiring their tables. And it promises to be it's still going to be at the same place, the Malcolm X Library, but we're going to open up both rooms this time. There'll be 2 rooms instead of 1. And because we expect to have more exhibitors this time. And a wider reach. So
that was definitely an awesome success for a first-time event.
It went off like a dream, you know, because we didn't know what to expect. We were hoping that it would be okay, but I didn't, you know, it went off a lot. It was almost no problem. It just it went super smooth. It's just, I think I wish we would have known how well of a turnout it would have been. We probably would have invested into more activities and things of that nature, but still, it was really about the books and the artists. So, and everyone I've talked to, all the feedback's been super positive, and everyone said they had a great time and they can't wait to do it again. So,
I'm sure everybody that attended the first time, as terms of exhibitors, are they'll be coming back, right?
Oh, for sure. They're already like, "Hey, Keithan, like, can we do it like now?" So now you gotta wait till Black History Month. You know. Can I don't, plus not everything, like people, there might be people out there, and I just want to put this disclaimer out there because I think it needs to be said. For people out there who are confused about why we're doing this Black culture stuff, if that's what you want to call it, it's basically to fill a void, because a lot of creators of colors don't necessarily have the venue to display their stuff without being overshadowed by the larger corporations. So that's why we do this. Like we're trying to create venues where not only just independent creators, but creators of colors who don't necessarily understand that they have an audience out there. They just don't realize, like, no, you have an audience. You just go ahead and do the work and let us provide a venue for you, and you'll see that you have fans out there. And then you can transition on into the mainstream. You know, because San Diego Comic-Con is basically the mainstream. That's a mainstream show, and even no matter what type of independent artist you are, it's hard to overshadow Marvel and DC when you go to those shows, right? So that's why we create shows like Black Comics Day or Afrofuturism Lounge, you know. And eventually, I want to do. I have an idea in my head. I want to do another show that's not necessarily black related, but more of a just an independent artist show. But I like to have an extra something to add to the show. I just don't want to just do a mini con. I want to give it some type of extra flavor. So I don't want to speak on it now, but I'm going to figure out something and open it up a little bit for other artists. But if you're smart, and I'm serious about this, if you're an independent artist out there, if you're smart, you'll go to any and every show you can get yourself into, because that's called networking. That's how you meet people. That's how you transition on to the next stage of your career. If you're cherry picking your shows because you don't think you're going to be welcome there, or you don't think you're going to be successful there, you're doing yourself a disservice as an artist. You know, that's what I call hustling backwards. So always be open to new things and expose yourself to all types of experiences and different people, because you never know who you're going to meet. Like at this Afrofuturism Lounge, there's a good chance there's going to be celebrities there, there's going to be producers there, because they're already going to be there downtown.
And we're still trying to get RZA to go.
Yeah. And that's not a joke. Like there's a 90% chance some very powerful people are going to be at this show. So I'm just letting you know.
Sweet. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to Black Comics Day. We had an awesome time at that event. We got to meet some new creators, so it's definitely
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm meeting, same for me. It's the same thing. I'm meeting people too. Even though I'm putting this thing together with my partners, I'm meeting and networking myself.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, you've mentioned a couple times on the podcast is the ability to network at an event is something that a lot of artists and creatives, they seem to shy away from, which is, you know, which is unfortunate.
Because a lot of artists by nature are shy.
Mm-hmm.
They speak through their work, and I understand that. But it's very hard. It's not like it used to be. You can't just, I mean, Marvel, for instance, you used to be able to put a portfolio together and just mail it to them. And then they'll cipher through all that stuff and hit you up. They'll call you back if they need you, right? Now
you need to know how to pitch your stuff now.
Yeah, I don't even think you can't even mail it to them anymore. You have to, at least last I checked, you couldn't. Mm-hmm. You have to go through either portfolio day, or you have to go to some designated situation they have set up for them to look at your stuff. And it's just, and even at Comic-Cons, you used to be able to just go up to the table and just sit there and have a conversation with someone without being ushered along. Mm-hmm. You know, like, okay, keep it moving. That kind of stuff is like, it makes it very difficult to make connections with these people now, you know, because you can't get through that security wall.
Also, just a quick little note, since we're talking about San Diego Comic-Con, on Sunday, our friend Brian Tillman, he's an artist based out of Baltimore. He has this awesome panel on how to pitch and promote yourself. So I recommend all you.
What's the name again?
His name is Brian Tillman.
Brian Tillman.
Yeah, he has an awesome panel every Comic-Con on the Sunday. Go check it out if you're an aspiring creator, or if you're a creator who has trouble, you know, putting your work out there. Look up the panel, how to pitch and promote yourself, and the moderator's name or the person that does the panel is Brian Tillman. He'll be there, but don't be late because he'll call you out.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
How is Hall H coming? Like, I see that you guys are always interviewing independent artists. How is?
You know, we've you know, if you looked at how we were 4 years ago, you know, and you sort of compare it to now, in the beginning, we were trying to figure out what our voice was because, we had hallh.com. What are we going to do with that? And we're all busy, doing our, regular, 9 to 5 and doing other things. And there's no way that we can compete with the larger media houses.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of flipped the script and we decided to be sort of disruptors. And we sort of wanted to put whatever attention the Hall H usually gets, we want to turn that toward, Artist Alley, because when we were kids going to San Diego Comic-Con, that's where we went. We went to Artist Alley.
Right.
So for us, that's what we go to when we go to Comic-Cons. All the, Artist Alley, the unique exhibitors out there, and by extension, we started going to the different smaller panels that you may not even think about going to when you're at San Diego Comic-Con, because it was harder to get into Hall H,
right?
In recent years. So it was a good opportunity to sort of find out what the diamonds in the rough are in terms of comics and pop culture.
Are you guys even able to enjoy the show as fans anymore now that you're on the media side of things?
I think so, because usually Sundays are usually reserved for our days, to go around the exhibit hall. But
that's good.
But even if we're walking around, on our way to a panel or to our next interview, we'll keep track of we should check that out later.
Being an exhibitor myself now, I have not been able to just enjoy it as a fan anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the wrong word. I don't want to say not enjoy, but I don't get to see all the cool stuff that everyone else is seeing, because I have to mind my
that's true.
My table. Mm-hmm. So I don't. It's like I've been going to San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm not really going to San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I'm just there. I'm there working.
Yeah, and we go to enough cons where even if we don't get a chance to explore the floor, we get to see these exhibitors and creators quite often, either at a con or online. We interact with them, and we build up a rapport with them. And so, before you know it, we're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you get on a first name basis. But and it's one thing that we've learned being content creators and try to drum up content for our podcast is that you it's like going on a date with somebody. It's like you don't ask a person to get married on the first date, right?
Right.
You need to wine and dine them and at least have a first dance or a first kiss or whatever. But you have to get to know the people before you start. Try to position your ask,
right?
Before you try to seal the deal. So we try to, when it comes to, promoting these artists online, we share and retweet a lot of stuff, and they're thankful for it, and
awesome.
and they remember. And so by the time we actually see them face to face,
I can personally vouch for you guys. I mean, I tell everyone I can about you guys. I mean, you guys are. I've never seen two guys that are so dedicated to covering the lives of, for lack of a better word, unknown artists. Like, you don't have to do it, but your service is severely needed. And to me, you're a godsend, and I appreciate everything you've done for me over the few years I've known you guys. And I think the guys that know me are starting to see how important and instrumental that what you guys do is, because you hear there's a lot of people out there doing podcasts, but it's they're not getting any traction because they're not doing it like you guys. You're not really out there on the grind and being at every show and really taking the time out the day to interview folks. It's more like, well, here's my email, maybe we'll hook up, maybe, and you never hear from them again. They don't follow up, or you don't see them at these shows. And you're like, when do you exactly podcast? Like, you haven't posted anything for months. It's like,
yeah, it's funny you mention that because we're starting to get people that request to be on the podcast. You talked about Kickstarter earlier. We're getting a lot of requests now for a lot of creators who have their Kickstarter campaigns and they want to be on the show. Our reputation is starting to grow.
I envision you guys having this super site where fans can go to the Hall H site, for instance, and not only see the podcast, but have the links, like you said, to Kickstarters and artist interviews. Like, it becomes almost like IGN, whereas IGN is more focused on video games. You guys would be the go-to source for comics and art and artists, because even IGN, someone that worked there actually told me that they have a comic section, but they don't necessarily have a focus on it. They don't necessarily have anyone there that's knowledgeable enough to get deep into it. You know, they do their little reviews, and that's about it.
They just have writers, not fans of comics. Fan writers. You know?
Yeah, because as a fan, I'm like, I don't just want to know about the book. I want to know about the artist. Can I get an artist interview? Can I get some videos? See what these people look like?
Right.
You know, and it's hard to find that on comics, and I think the industry suffers like right now. Like, and I don't understand it. It's like, where are the documentaries on all these great artists? Like, most of the stuff that's out there is like from 1980 something. Like, no one cares to document anything in the comic book industry, you know, other than I mean, we know about the big movies, but what about what's going on with the actual writers and artists? You know.
So to sort of go along that line of thinking, we noticed that there was a need for a blog or a podcast to sort of put the spotlight on independent creators. So we shifted our gears and we tried to position ourselves as the voice of independent creators, and it seems to be working well for us.
Awesome. For sure.
I guess we'll go to a quick thunder round, because what would a Hall H show podcast be without a thunder round? Right, Alex?
Yeah.
Take it away.
Okay. First question. If a movie was made about your life, who would you want to play?
Oh my God. That's a tough one.
Denzel.
No.
and I'm laughing because if you've seen the recent promos that Bobby did about for San Diego Comic Initiative, we sort of played off the Avengers initiative, right? So I was joking around that Keithan should come to Comic-Con with an eye patch to be like Nick Fury.
That might be reality because Sam Jackson plays everyone. I don't know. Michael B. Jordan.
That's cool. Let's see. To go along with that question, what kind of music would be on the soundtrack of a movie about your life? Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if it's about my life, then it has to fit the different time periods. So it would start with Public Enemy. As far as when I got out of high school, I got into Public Enemy, and that opened me up to information about myself and African American struggles. I learned a lot from Public Enemy. Nirvana. That was more like that was more like those. That was also a time for rage and questioning authority and things of that nature. So Nirvana, Tribe Called Quest, of course the whole Death Row from Snoop, the Chronic album, Tupac, all of that 90s stuff, man. That was heavy, and that was my soundtrack all through my 20s. all the when the whole West Coast Death Row camp, but also, and then it swung back to when Wu-Tang came out. You have to have some Wu-Tang, Biggie in there, Nas, and then fast forward. Gosh. There was a moment I was heavily into 50 Cent, 2003, 2004. And that was just on some ignorant, fight music. Like, I don't care. You want to fight somebody, throw in the 50 Cent. Shout out to 50. Don't come at me, dog. 'Cause I know he likes to clown people online. But how could I miss? But you know what? My all-time favorite artist, no matter what, probably to my dying day, who really taught me how to improve my art, how to be a showman, Michael Jackson. Like, I was super, super into Michael Jackson. I mean, I read everything about him, collected photos of him. I wanted to dress like him, and But more than anything, I was just fascinated by his artistry and how he didn't just put, oh, here's my new video. No, it was always this event, and it was always a movie, and you know what I mean. Like, so I learned a lot from Michael's artistry. You know.
Can we? Are we gonna have some video later of you doing the moonwalk?
Oh no, I never could. I could never moonwalk. I still don't know how to moonwalk. Yeah, no. Nope. Won't be doing that. I never got to see him live. I hate that. I never got to see him live.
That's cool.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have any. You know, I was a kid. I didn't have any power over that. So
it's a good lineup.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What statement would you have Bart from The Simpsons write on a chalkboard?
Wait a minute. What? Say it again.
What statement would you have Bart from The Simpsons write on a chalkboard?
Right on the chalkboard?
Yeah.
Who thinks of these questions?
Oh, man. I would never miss a rent payment. I was doing a lot of that in the 90s, man. I was just like, my credit was shot back in the 90s. Like,
all right, here goes. Macross and Japanese manga and anime are a huge influence on you. Mm-hmm. Do you think you will ever see a live-action Robotech movie?
I thought we were headed toward one. We might. I think it's a 60-40 chance of seeing one. I don't want to see a bad one. For sure. It's probably the reason why I like Top Gun so much. You know, It's like, well, this is the closest I'm going to get to Macross.
Okay. Last question. What's going to be this year's question at the booth?
What's going to be this year's question at the booth?
Yeah.
Like last year was about Rocky 4.
Yeah. Well, okay, so last year's question was?
What was the best Rocky movie?
Okay.
And more specifically, was Rocky 4 a classic? And Bobby was like, it wasn't a classic. It was the way he was describing it was trash. And I'm like, and it shocked me because I'm like, I didn't know there was people out there that didn't love Rocky 4. I'm like, Rocky 4 is a classic. No one's can change my mind. Rocky 4 is a classic. So I think this year's question is Creed 2.
Oh.
The return of Drago and his son. So, is that going to be just as good as Rocky 4 or not?
I'd like to see what people's reactions are to that.
We're getting all the 80s classics, man. We're getting Top Gun 2. We're getting Creed 2 with the return of Rocky 4, the nemesis in Rocky 4. So it's kind of like...
Maybe a good question would be, what's the best 80s cartoon theme song?
Thundercats, no question.
I think, because I saw an article and they said, I think they agreed that Thundercats was the best.
Yeah, Thundercats. And then Transformers after that. No, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, then Transformers. I knew those songs by heart. But I think Thundercats is the ultimate animated opening of a cartoon series. I still look at it these days. Like, I was so impressed by it before we had computers.
That song gets you pumped, man.
Yeah, but I used to actually I videotaped it on VHS back then, and I tried to pause each frame. And back then, if you pause it, you have the wiggly lines. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like today. You get it. When you pause something now, it's crystal clear. But back then, you get all these static waves, and I was trying to see the drawings through the static. So that's how bad I wanted to study that opening.
Cool. Well, another segment of the podcast is Artist Alley, and it's we put the focus on.
Are we gonna get some food now?
We will soon.
You see, folks, they feed me. They said if you do it, we'll feed you.
And so Artist Alleys, we put a focus on writer, artist, cosplayer, photographer, filmmaker, pretty much any comic book or pop culture creative that we want our audience to know more about. Is there anybody that you want to put a spotlight on this episode, Keithan? Is there anybody that you want to put a spotlight on? Like an artist?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Airplanes.
Yeah. Travis Reedus.
Oh yeah, that's a good
really
one.
I'm still reading it, but I'm really impressed by his
Unstoppable
Cherub.
Yeah,
I think that's a book everyone should check out. I think it has a unique premise.
Yeah, and speaking about Travis, he's at the Lucky Finn, I think, little get together. That sort of is an organization that is an advocate for what he was born with, which is a limb difference, which is a big portion of what his comic book is about.
Yep. And it's a well-written book. I've only read a few pages of it, but I know Travis, and I know that he's been pushing that platform. But I've been so busy, I never got a chance to actually sit down and read the book. And now that I have it in my hands and I've been reading it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I love the premise of he's taking a handicap and he's created a hero that represents not just his personal issue, because he doesn't carry himself as, oh well, I'm handicapped, or he doesn't carry himself like, especially when you meet him, you don't even notice, mm-hmm. that he has a limb difference. And what's funny is I didn't notice the character having it either until it's actually brought to my attention, mm-hmm. and I go back and look at the actual drawings. I'm like, oh yeah, mm-hmm. You just like when I met him, I didn't notice it. I just accepted him for as he is, and then when it was brought up, then you notice it, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But to actually take that energy and take that situation and make a story out of it in comic book form, and it's good, that's awesome, man. Yep. And it's inspiring.
It is. It's
inspiring. So I to answer your question, I recommend Unstoppable Cherub. I hope I'm pronouncing it. Cherub.
Yeah.
Unstoppable Cherub. Check that out.
That's a good book.
Good book.
And I want to talk about it, but I don't want to give away too much. I want our viewers to go check it out for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you, Alex?
I don't know. I think we probably highlighted him once or twice, but Ethan Castillo. He's a 13-year-old artist. He's a gamer nerd.
Yeah, we first met him. San Jose. We first met him when he was 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at the first the Artist Assemble meet that we did back in 2016. Remember at that restaurant, Keithan?
Still a kid.
The kid?
Yeah.
How old is he now?
He's
13 now.
He never stopped, right?
Yeah, he's still drawing.
Yeah, he's probably super good.
Yeah. So, Ethan Castillo. Check him out at Artist Alley AA16.
Yeah, that's he's an example of parent. He has good parents that actually support what he's doing and put him, and they back what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to propel him to the next level, because that does wonders for someone's confidence when your parents are actually backing what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's wow.
Yeah,
lucky kid.
Yeah, a person that I maybe want to showcase this episode is somebody that I'm hoping to see at San Diego Comic-Con. He's going to be doing a live demonstration, Art Germ. I'm hoping to check out his panel. So, yeah, if none of you are familiar with Art Germ's artwork, go check it out. It's Art Germ. He's based out of, I think, Taiwan, I believe. But he does a lot of like covers for DC. He's just all over the place. But his artwork is so distinctive, and he recently posted something that he drew, I want to say maybe 30 years ago versus now, and obviously he takes it upon himself to hone his craft, and you can see the difference. And he also is a teacher, and he has a class that he does work with, and he also posts like projects that he does with the class. So it's really awesome to see what Art Germ is up to, and I recommend our audience to go check him out.
Yeah, and if I may give a shout out to there's one of my college instructors actually has a studio right where we are now being interviewed, called Otto Lai. Do you know Otto? Mm-mm. Otto Lai he's Chinese or Korean, but he was my instructor at Platt College, and he teaches 3D.
Oh, cool.
But he no longer works there. He now runs his own studio right here, Liberty Station, not too far from Kamikaze, and the artist studios here. And you might, he teaches all ages, and he teaches 3D.
What year did you go to Platt College?
I went in 2007.
Oh, I went to 96, 97.
Yeah. It was more of me going back to college to brush up on my skills. Plus, I wanted to learn 3D. So that's what I went there for.
And you also had the opportunity to go back and teach a class, right?
I did. I actually went back, what was it, early last year, and I did a 7-week course of comic book creation.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. And we might do it again. They have to give me the call, but they're thinking of expanding the program.
Oh, nice. That'd be awesome if they do that. That would be awesome if they did that.
Yeah, you should tell them.
I guess start wrapping up this show about airplanes. No, I'm just joking. Since we are at Liberty Station, and I think are we need some burgers and beers, maybe?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Before we close out, is there anything that we missed that you'd like our audience to know about, Keithan?
Yeah, pick up my shirts also, guys. I have these T-shirts. On the front it says "Kid," right? But on the back is the company slogan: "The kid in you never dies."
I love that one.
Yeah, that's the company slogan: "The kid in you never dies." And I'll have different, I have most sizes available for sale at San Diego Comic-Con and the Afrofuturism Lounge all this coming week. So I implore you to grab a shirt, represent. I always tell people, if you wear that shirt, you just gave yourself at least a month's worth of good luck.
And for those of the audience out there who are unlucky, who aren't lucky enough to see you at San Diego Comic-Con, what's your website?
It is kid-comics.com for purchases of the books and shirts. Kid-comics.com. I'm also on social media, on Twitter. I believe Kid Comics KJ or Kid Com KJ. I'm on Instagram as KJ Kidcom, I think just the reverse. Facebook, just my name, Keithen Jones, or the actual Facebook page, Kid Comics Online. I'm always posting updates and drawings and whatever I'm doing during the day. I also, and I'm thinking about doing a Patreon. I'm not sure. I'm muling it because I do a lot of live broadcasting of just showing my technique, and I'll either be drawing an actual page from the book, or I'll give demonstrations on how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, and the like. So you can currently you can go to either Instagram or Facebook to see some of that stuff. I usually do it at least once or twice a week. But like I said, I might start doing more of it on Patreon.
I think you should, because you are a seasoned veteran when it comes to not only the artistic and process side, but the business side. I see how you are, and like even Marcel looks up to you in terms of how to run the business side. And I think you should set up a part of your Patreon to be sort of like a masterclass for people out there who are who are creators out there,
like speaking on it, or
you could just pick a topic about how to say interact at a con, or how to position yourself.
Good idea.
So because I think a lot of people can gain value on that.
Okay, I might explore that.
Yeah. I guess we'll close out the show. Get some burgers and beers. You want to close it out, Alex?
Sure. All right. Thank you for listening to the Hall 8 Show podcast. We love putting the spotlight on some of our favorite pop culture and comic book creatives like Keithan Jones here. Make sure you go visit him and Bobby Rubio and us. We'll be there too at San Diego Comic-Con 2018 at booth 1943.
That's right. San Diego Comic Initiative.
Yep.
Booth 1943. Be there. You can find us on this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, Spotify, and our website, hall8.com. If you believe in our mission to be the voice of independent creators, we would appreciate a rating and comment on iTunes, and please spread word on social media using the hashtag Hall8Show. Once again, hashtag Hall8Show. Peace, cheers, and make it a point to visit Artist Alley at the conventions you plan on going this year. So I'll see you in a few days.
Woohoo! San Diego Comic-Con.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Peace.
Yeah.